Hey everybody, thanks all for returning to MMO Grind. I'm here with my host, Zaylen, and our guest, BowBow.
Hi
He's a
guys.
contributing member of the Camelot Unchained community and an avid watcher of our stream. We'll be
Who's
discussing...
Mouse? You
What?
still playing Linkin Park?
I wasn't playing Linkin Park before. Can you hear music?
Yeah.
Yep.
How's that?
Wow, it's gone.
Perfect.
Sorry,
Amazing.
totally derailed your train of thought there.
Yes, thank you very much.
That's what I'm here for.
Tonight we'll be discussing a little bit about BowBow, his game history, and how he got into MMOs, as well as why he's excited to play Camelot Unchained. About 7 years ago, him and I were both involved in a contribution project to write some documentation for Camelot Unchained, and it basically became a community group of people generating a bunch of new and interesting ideas, things that they would love to see in an MMO. And we're going to kind of discuss some of that because none of that has ever been public that I'm aware of. It ended up being like a community of like 10 people that kind of wrote this thing. And I haven't really read that doc in about that 7 years, so we'll
Trip down memory lane, huh?
Oh yeah, this is totally be an awesome trip down memory lane. So let's kick it off. BowBow, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Bobo.
Okay. Well, I'm French Canadian, and I started liking MMOs like with Ultima Online. So about 20 years ago, but what drove me to MMOs started much earlier than that. I remember I was like 6 years old and I would like to fall asleep thinking that I was running in caves trying to run away from skeletons.
I mean,
what
little boy doesn't enjoy running around in capes? Though the skeleton things, yeah.
It sounds like he played some Dungeons and Dragons or something.
Or he was a He-Man fan.
Not even. I mean, I don't know why I liked it, but I did. So I was maybe like 6 years old. Then at around 12, 13, I was introduced to Dungeons and Dragons. So it was like an aha moment. So I started playing. Yeah.
What was your character of choice in D&D?
A thief.
A thief. Why?
Yeah. I don't. I always enjoyed playing a thief. I think it's because it's one thing that you can do in real life. I mean, of course, I cannot cast magic healer. I won't use a sword in a shopping mall, but
I mean, you could once.
Yeah, maybe once.
It's a short-lived experience, but you can do it.
But I don't know. I mean, it was either a thief or a bow user, a ranger, an archer, or whatever. So it's always been my two classes of choice. So
Even
I
now?
was pretty good at it. I mean, I really enjoyed it. So I played Dungeons and Dragons for maybe 2 years. Then some friends of mine and we created our own tabletop rule set. So we played with this game for like 5 years. Yeah, about 5 years. Then I discovered LARPing. So I started LARPing.
Did you LARP as a thief?
like buffer foam,
yeah.
like the buffer foam stuff, like where you actually like throw spells at each other and hit each other with foam weapons, or
Yeah,
more
foam weapon. Yeah, so a friend of mine had a nice. He had a land, so we started building like regular small stuff on his land.
Oh, land. I thought you said lance. I was just like,
No, land.
He's been lancing? Holy
We're playing
crap.
BattleTech now.
Jeez.
He eventually bought his own land because the first one was bought with his father, so he couldn't do whatever he wanted to do with it. So eventually bought his own land. So he also built an inn on his land, cost about $250,000. Build a small village. So I think there's
That's
about
some
$1 million.
dedication.
Yeah, about $1 million of investment on his land to play LARPing. So he rents his land. He creates his own LARPing. but he also rents his land to other people that has LARPing. That has LARP.
That's
so.
smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Oh, heck
hardcore,
yeah.
as Skippy says. That's nuts.
That's
Oh
kinda
yeah.
awesome.
So I mean, we had a blast. I was an actor for them for like maybe 7 to 10 years. So we created the rule sets. I used to play many different characters. We also even organize activity for young children. So they would come during a school day. It was like an activity for their school. So we would make different scenarios for them. Of course, a little bit more cute than the
Of
average
course.
LARPing.
Yeah.
We also made once a scenario for a murder mystery LARPing.
That
Oh,
would be
wow.
very cool.
Oh
I've
yeah,
done, I've done one of those as well.
it was
Were you
fantastic.
murdered?
It went.
I
I
was
don't
not
even
murdered.
recall. I mean, that's like still 12 years ago. But it's funny because the land is pretty big. Pretty big. It had about 110 acres. So yeah. So and we had three different groups that
If you
had to
think about
walk
it,
around the land.
that's like the real life version of Chronicles of Valeria right there.
I mean,
okay.
to be fair, though, they can only use that land for like 3 months because it's Quebec and the rest is like winter tundra. So, like,
I mean, no kidding.
You can LARP in the snow. Come on.
They organize like maybe one a year during the snow, and it's only one day. But the rest of
The rest of the time they're
they-
hunting for the children that got lost in the snow.
Yeah, just about. So
follow
it's,
the footprints. They'll
we
only
usually
last an
do it
hour.
from.
Where'd
We
Skippy
usually did it from May to September, because
Yeah.
right after that the nights starts getting cold and the rain also.
Baby, it's
trust me, I mean,
cold
we wouldn't
That's a lot
outside.
like
sleep.
Minnesota.
Yeah. But we would not sleep for that 48 hours. So it was pretty intense. So yeah, the one of the character I like to play the most was actually a werewolf. So during the night, I mean, I would have a blast just scaring people off.
Did you have like a full werewolf outfit that you wore?
Yeah, I had a fur coat, fur leggings,
So like a
mask.
full-on fuzzy. Full-on
Yeah,
fuzzy.
and we used to only like take him out at night, because you go in a store and you see like a rubber mask during daytime. It's funny, but you look at it under a torchlight at night in the woods. It's a different feeling.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, there's one guy. I remember I just come out of the behind of a tree, and he just like screamed and stayed there, and he's like, "Man, I almost peed in my pants."
It took a crap, but I almost peed too.
Yeah, there's a girl I made her cry just because I made her jump pretty hard. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
They're like checking the back of the pants, checking the front of the pants. All right, not a complete embarrassment right now. They screamed and cried a bit.
So what was it about the whole LARPing experience that really that you really enjoyed, that gave you the most reward for the effort and time that you were putting in?
It was the stupid shit I could do that usually people wouldn't do.
Okay.
I remember once there was a small fortress, and there were like demons or whatever that were guarding it, and I wanted the magic book that was inside the fortress. So I dug under the wall for 2.5 hours with my bare hand just to go get the damn book.
Wow.
Right there.
Than that, once we had a really special scenario for a weekend. We were expecting a lot of rain and not so much of good weather. So we made a scenario where people would travel in the future. So they got on the land, started playing there for maybe like half an hour. Then they got around in a circle. We just opened the portal. Then we say, okay, time out. We're going to blindfold you, and you're coming with us. So we dropped them in the park in the middle of a town. Then we played the whole weekend in town, but with actual medieval characters.
Oh wow.
So that was pretty funny. I was playing like a vampire that was there back then and was still alive in the future. And, I mean, we made car chase in town.
When you do that these days, you get shot.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, it was at some point it was pretty stupid. I remember there's one guy, he managed to escape a house where we had locked him in a room, so he just removed the door to get out. So he jumped in his car, and I started running after him. Just as he was speeding out of the driveway, I jumped and I grabbed him by the through the window, and he started rolling, and I kept hanging onto him.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like it was a bit crazy. So when he started speeding a bit too fast up to my taste, I shot him as a joke, of course, and I jumped in the car.
That's usually why I shoot people. It's pretty funny.
It's a bitch to clean up, though, isn't it?
You know,
Yeah, but it was
they're short-lived jokes.
That's why you have Narth for.
I'll bang, you know.
And just I think half an hour before that, there's another guy that escaped from the house. So he was dressed in like shorts, a dirty T-shirt with fake blood on it, and construction boots. And he started running in the streets of this small suburb town. I was chasing after him. I was dressed in a suit with tie, sunglasses, long hair, pinch, and a fake gun in my hand. But it didn't look like a fake gun. It looked like a gun. So people were just like, they were watching him running and me running after him, and they moved away.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, the cops showed up once. We had to explain to them what they were doing. But my friend told the police before the weekend started that there might be some
weirdness.
Yeah. But we didn't get into big trouble, so that's okay.
I mean, if you've got basically $1 million investment sitting out in the woods, like, I'm sure that his relationship with some of the small people in the town was probably pretty good too. So
yeah, but we had a blast most of the time. So eventually, I started not going there as much. I was starting to be a bit like growing out of it. Then that's when I started playing Ultima Online. So that was my first MMO.
He grew up to play MMOs.
It was my training. So
the best way to do it, right?
I didn't play on the live servers though. It was on a private French shard, so it was owned by a friend of a friend. So pretty quickly I became a game master on the server.
Oh, wow.
So we organized events and all. Then was there any? Yeah, I tried a quest and like I didn't enjoy it that much. Then I
didn't enjoy Grindfest.
Stumbled on Dark Age of
original.
Camelot. So yeah, so I played like 4 years, 40 to 60 hours a week. My girlfriend was playing with me, so it was okay.
and I'd love to be like, that's extreme. But
how much did you play, Malice?
Doing the same thing, so
Oh yeah,
I can't say anything about it.
yeah.
No judgment here.
When your schedule is work, play, and sleep, and occasionally take a poop.
Sounds like college.
Yeah. So I played that for a pretty long time. When I stopped playing, I was like 6th best hunter PvP wise. I was.
What server were you at?
I was at realm 6L6 when I stopped.
What server were you on?
One server I went on Merlin Midgard.
Merlin.
Yep. With Drut or Rasher, that some of you might remember. So
he made a little DOC history. So
yeah. So after 4 years, I stopped playing because I wanted to go back to school, learn creative literacy, at the university. So I knew that if I kept on playing, I wouldn't do my studies, I wouldn't do my courses, and so I stopped playing.
That's some good self-control, especially when you're doing 60 hours
yeah.
a week.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I couldn't just like slow down my pace. I knew it, so I stopped.
So, what's
Then
your
years-
fondest memory of your time in Dayak?
I mean, I used to love patrolling frontiers. So I would always be in Midgard frontiers, like Jutland Mountains or can't remember the other ones, Odin's Gate and the two others. So I would patrol the land just to make sure that no one was trying to attack our post, and try to get a heads up on people before they actually start hitting on the gate. So when it was quiet, I used to defend low level that were XPing in the frontiers also. So I would hide behind the tree, and as soon as a stealther would try to kill them, I would jump in and kill him myself. So that was
The
pretty
good guys.
rewarding. Yeah.
The good guys.
So it's funny because I always liked playing MMOs, but solo. So
The
I'm one of those
lone
guys
wolf. There you
yeah,
go.
I'm usually one of those guys. So when CU comes out, the class, well, not at launch, but after that, I can't wait to play a scout,
So you say not at launch. Why?
because the scout won't be there at launch.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, they're not gonna have the archers. I don't believe. So.
Yeah. So
Of all the
Archer should be
classes
there.
not to have.
So, yeah, so I think yeah. Anyway, so that's the class either Archer or. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be so many original new classes in there
Yeah.
that there's many of them that I'll be willing to try, and I can play a bit more as a group than I would earlier in my life. So I could try grouping also a bit more.
And what
and
group are you
what
going
did
in with this time? Sorry, Malice.
What group?
Yeah.
I'm not much into 8-man group that just like roam around the land and just like looking for, I would say, like a fight without a cause, just for the sake of fighting. So I prefer to have a fight that actually means something. So.
Do you know what community you'll be with?
So far, well, I've been in crowd control for a year now, just about a year. So it was was recruited by ZZ XCXCB. Yep.
Filthy tree huggers.
But it's funny because I'm a bit torn between all the three for different reasons. All the three realms for different reasons.
Oh, okay.
I like the mechanic we can guess from the TDDs. That's going to be like rush in and out, and so I like this dynamic. But I hate their scout class, the Wisp. I don't feel drawn to it at all.
But you're invisible during the day.
Yeah, but I'm like
You're freaking a beacon
neon
at
light.
night. Look at me, I'm over here.
I always like the Viking history, so and the both of the classes I like the most, archers and scouts, are pretty awesome for the Vikings. So I'm torn about. Actually, the only reason I would play Archerians is their Black Knight, because they have the freaking long range with bows, and it's always been like one of my favorite class. So, but we'll see. I mean, I think it's going to be the gameplay of each of them that's going to decide in the end.
I was gonna say you got some time to make that decision.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm in my son's college, maybe.
Yeah. No, you train him up to be a like Fox is doing, and you have your own little pocket healer, your own little pocket tank, and there you go.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna start training him in Elder Scrolls Online soon, so he's gonna be able to do my fishing quests.
There you go. He's like an offline farmer for you.
Oh yeah.
So why ESO?
Well, lately I've been playing ESO for like a few months now. I started playing last year. I played for like 2 months during winter. Then I stopped for about a year. Then I just started playing back again. because I was bored. So, but lately there's like a few MMOs that I could try. Maybe like the New World could have like a decent time to play before CU launches. So we'll see. I mean, I don't plan much ahead now. I go with the flow.
Empty promises. You okay there, Malice? I thought you fed your cat before the stream started.
Are you having gases?
Claws get flashed.
I was like, or a stroke. He's having a stroke on the stream. And we're laughing about it. I thought you were going to feed that beast beforehand.
I did. He's like sprawled out on my desk. And so I'm just like casually like petting him. And all of a sudden, claws went. I just dug them into my skin. I'm like, ow.
You do realize that face. Your face is going to turn into a meme now.
I went back to school to study special teaching since my son has autism, and we had a project where we had to make a. I won't be able to say it decently in English, but to teach awareness to kids about drugs. Mm-hmm. So I made I built a whole game to sensibilize them about drugs. So it has a bit of role playing in it. It has a bit of quizzes. So I use all my knowledge on different things to build that game. So
that's pretty cool.
So yeah, if I had more time, well, actually I do have more time. I just don't have the energy for it. But I thought of proposing it to the health government to distribute it in schools across Canada.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so it's not a totally dead project yet, but it's on the back burner a bit.
So is this like a hobby passion of yours, is to create games and content for games and stuff? Malice, I'm setting you up for the document, just so you know. Is that something you really like to do?
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, I realized like a while ago that I had to use my creativity and my imagination for positive things and fun stuff. Otherwise, it would just like not destroy me, but it would annoy me as hell. So I'd rather use it for good stuff. So that's why I was involved in the CU project ever since before the Kickstarter started. So I used to talk with Mark Jacobs on MMORPG.com. There was also like a medic tier list. There was a few old CU fan that were there also, and we used to talk about so many different things, so many ideas we had. And it's funny because there's a lot of stuff that I proposed back then that's actually found its way later on in the BSC days. So probably not because I suggested them, but
of course it's why. It's because you suggested.
I don't think
Come
so.
On.
No, but I mean, it was rewarding to see that I was on the same mindset as Mark Jacobs for the game. So that's why I know that many ideas I had, or I still have, could find its way in there eventually. So it's pretty fun.
He uses his powers for awesome.
How about using the powers for awesome, man? I use all my powers for evil, so it has to balance out somewhere, right?
Yeah. So what else did I create yet? There was many things, but regarding MMOs and games, yeah, I think that's about it.
Well, I mean, Malice alluded to it at the beginning of the stream. You guys created a document.
Yeah. So I was only part of it for a little bit, but it was like there was a Drunken God, there was Gondrum, Xeren, if I recall, there was Malice that I didn't know back then. But eventually, as soon as everyone found out that it wouldn't be in 2 years, but rather 10, that the project kind of died. So,
yeah, well, the project kind of fell apart when we were specifically told by Mark Jacobs. Well, not by Mark Jacobs, but by their PR person at the time, basically said, "We're not interested. Go away." And we're like, "Dude, we just wanted to give it to you. You do what you want with it." If it literally got filed in the circular filing cabinet, I wouldn't have cared, you know. But the fact that there was this whole no, we don't want it from you. If you'd like to do something with it, you can post it on the forum. So it's just like,
okay. Basically, that's what he's told me also 2 or 3 times in the past years. It's mostly from a legal point of view.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's scared that he would be sued for stealing ideas for someone. So if the content is on the forum, then no one can do anything.
Right, because when you signed up for the forum, it said everything here is ours. So.
Yeah, exactly. But the downside of this is like for the past 4 years, the forum is only a place where most people only like complain and.
Right.
So I mean, I don't even bother to post ideas. I posted ideas twice, and once the first reply was like, "Come back with this in 5 years." And the other one was like, only 5 years, try more. I mean, it was like, so.
I mean,
yeah.
And when
7.
you know that when you're creating stuff, it's freaking annoying to don't even have like a decent feedback on it.
Right.
If you hate the idea, I don't care. Hate it. Right. I don't care. Just talk about it, man. I mean.
Right. Be like,
I invested many hours.
It totally not work because of this or something, you know.
Respectfully. Talk about it respectfully. That's the.
Yeah, and I remember
that's really fun.
English is not my first language. I remember when the first time I talked about tanks, I wasn't even aware that tanks referred to the action of keeping aggro from the mobs and all that. Just for me, a tank was like a melee combatant.
Right.
So that was all it was for me. So when I started describing a class. That could be a light tank or a light melee fighter. The most response that I had was there won't be any tanks in CU. I was like, what the fuck? They didn't bother. I mean, I wrote like there was about 2 pages of text, and all I had was like there won't be tanks in CU. Okay.
Which is untrue because there are specifically tank classes in CU.
Yeah, but I mean. It's frustrating, especially for me, since it's not my first language, to be to get stuck on just like wording and just little details, so people don't see the whole picture of what you're trying to explain. They just like in French we say like you stumble into the flowers printed on the carpet.
Yep.
So that's about what people are saying, or other times they just say like, Mike Jacobs said there wouldn't be any tanks.
Right.
But that was 6 years ago. And the game's still not out, so it's still time to propose stuff. I mean, if...
Well, didn't they talk about having a tank where you could actually wield 2 shields, and he thought that was a great idea?
Mark Jacobs didn't... I actually went to Ben with that, and Ben thought that was a great idea. So me and Ben worked on that for a little bit.
All right.
Because I was like, I want to be able to spec 2 shields, and he's like, sure, why not? Let's do this. I was like, cool.
Hit me, I dare you.
It would be weird with 2 shields.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole point is you're not much of a damage class, but you could like hold a hallway and just be like, be the super tank and holding a hallway while everybody attacks over you.
You literally have to yell out, "You shall not pass." I mean that's just, you have
and
to.
if you have an itch, you're dead.
Yeah.
Oh crap! Damn it!
Hey Narth, behind me. Can you get that? Get just right there.
Yeah, but like, aren't there tank classes now? Because I thought there was like basically the heavy melees, the Mjolnirs, and the what the heck's the other ones?
Yeah, there's the Black Knight, the Mjolnir, and the not the Firbolg, but I can't recall.
It's
people in my guild's gonna hate me because I can't name a a TDD class.
The Fianna? That's her?
Yeah, Fianna.
The Fianna.
Yeah, but those.
I had to look it up.
Yeah, and people say that those are not tanks; they are melee class, but not tanks. So because they won't keep aggro on other players. See, so that's where it's like.
This is where I
it's playing with words.
So, well, right. So in Warhammer, which Mark Jacobs made, they had these heavy melee shield classes, tanks, and in PvP they had taunts, and those taunts would force players to, like, anybody that they attacked on your team that wasn't you, they all got like a 25% damage resist buff. So it would force people to try to attack the tank to kill him so that they could then kill everybody else. Yeah. So it was like kind of I am a shield, I am a protector. Sure, you don't have an aggro mechanic like you're playing against monsters, but that doesn't make something not a tank. That's yeah. I get frustrated with people that do the same thing where they're like, well, that's not a tank. Well, no, that's actually exactly what a tank is.
Some people stick with one definition, one specific definition or purpose for a tank, as other people don't put on that that etiquette, that label.
Right. A tank, oddly enough, is named after a military vehicle, which is a high attack vehicle that just happens to also take a lot of damage for its team.
Exactly.
Wow. Surprising how that works in PvP.
Yeah, I mean, technically, we could have called them Juggernaut instead of tank.
Right. Exactly, you know.
But yeah, but I think the tank purpose could be given to another class. So, because you can't, as a player, mostly as a melee fighter, you cannot force people to attack you. But if it's done by a specific spellcaster, then it could be pretty awesome. I have the information for a class that I taught also, and it could be pretty good. So. It was not the class that I thought we could talk about, but I mean, we could abort this one since we're on the tank aspect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the big thing is we actually back in Dark Age of Camelot, I played a scout for a long time, and I kind of played a tank role because I would hang in the back on a team and put my shield on the cleric. And I would tank for the cleric, so anybody that tried to, so I could range shoot from the backfield, and then anybody that would try to swarm on the cleric, I would have the cleric protected.
Yeah, you had your guard and protect on.
Yep, and soak a lot of damage for the cleric. So then they had to try to come after me. Well, I would just go in full defense and like try to save my ass until the rest of the team could clear him off. But
guys, wake up! Get him off me!
Yeah. Exactly. So, speaking of that document, you brought some fun images, correct? That you wanted to discuss about that?
Yeah, it's this image is supposedly to explain how I think the veil could be watching over the land. Because we know that the veil is not only, it's a living thing that has objectives, it has goals, it has basically feelings.
This is the map
mostly
you sent
hatred. Me. Yeah, mostly hatred toward us, the humanoids. So
there you go.
Yeah, so it won't be. I think it's going to be pretty hard to see. I should have made it like much bigger, but you see those hexagons on the map.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on each of them, I put like a number. So, and the higher the number is, the higher the veil would be aware of what's happening in those regions. So, because we know that the closer we're going to be to a place of power, magic place, a mine, or whatever, chances are we're going to be. There's more chance that we're going to awaken the veil. So.
It's not like the veil is going to be like thinner there, so that people that can
Yeah.
cross over into the veil can do it easier. But it's also going to be more dangerous, probably there too.
Exactly, because so I assume that the places that where people are going to build their keeps and villages and towns are probably at places that the veil is pretty thick. So it was logical that on the other end, the places that the veil would like to protect the most is where it's the thinnest or where there's the most connection between the two realms.
Mm-hmm.
So especially at a place of power, it's logically a place where a lot of magic is at its purest form. So it's obviously more connected to the veil. Even maybe like at a dragon's lair, or even like a fountain that has magical water in it. So all those places could have a different, I'd say, alert value to. Oh, it's basically like an alarm system.
Well, the question I have is, so wouldn't people want to build near those? Because I mean, they're a place of power. So, like, I assume, like, if you found some ancient fountain that was giving off magical water, that would be potentially a crafting resource.
But if it's too close, what could happen is that you're gonna be quite often be destroyed by the veil storms.
Or veil storms, or some type of or creatures from the veil may at night or something cross over and attack.
Yeah, exactly. I
mean,
mean,
it's like a cross between Dragon Age, the different rifts that they had in there, and Minecraft. You open another portal and the stuff comes through, and they just decide to screw with you.
I mean, I wouldn't install a tent in an alley in the Bronx. So I wouldn't feel safe.
That's because you're just not homeless.
I love how that comment is coming from a French Canadian.
Everybody knows about the Bronx. It's a worldwide phenomenon.
I mean, okay, the Bronx from the 80s or the 70s. I'm not even sure if it's called like this anymore. So
it's New York. It's never gotten.
I still have Steven movies in mind. So 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 basically they would need to. It's basically like an alarm system for the veil. So the closer you are to a special place, it's going to be easier for us to awaken the veil and probably get attacked by it, or there would be a veil storm also. And it could also be linked to the. We don't even know if there's going to be resurrection yet, but the way I thought about it, it was like you could be, if you released, because I don't think there's going to be like bind stones, so, and you don't want maybe to have to port back to the town, which an hour away maybe, because we know the map's going to be freaking huge. Mm-hmm. So it could be like a travel distance of 15 minutes in the direction where your realm is, your safe town is. But at the same time, it wouldn't be able to release in a place where the veil is thin.
Mm.
So
basically, your spirit's like, nope, I'm not getting out of this body, even though it's dead. I don't want it out there.
Yeah, I can release, but it's gonna be further away. So, and also like during the time when there's gonna be battle, we also know that the more magic that's gonna be cast, the more it's gonna attract the veil in there to provoke a veil storm. Mm-hmm. So I think that as while the battle keeps on going, the more magic that has been cast so far, the wider the further away the range to release should be also, like to form an invisible dome around the combat, and it gets wider and wider as the fight goes on. So when it reaches a certain diameter, then the veil could happen, and you couldn't even move back in that zone to get back in the fighting.
So kind of a system to reduce also the idea of like the zombie rush, where people are just respawning and rushing and respawning
exactly.
and rushing. And so it's like you have X amount of shots at this, and eventually all the releasing and all the spells and all the other stuff like that would make it so difficult that the defenders would finally actually have a victory condition of, yay, we've defended it.
Yeah, because on let's say an 8 versus 8 battle, if you die and you release, you could release maybe 5 minutes away. It doesn't have any impact on the game. Right. But as soon as you're closer to a huge battle or a strategic point, a town, a village, wherever, the range could be further away.
So Sehaku is asking, and again, this is based on what you guys would do. Would you make it so that there's rewards for going into the Veil? What would those type of rewards be if this was your system? Would it be weapons, or would it be crafting mats for gear? Would it just be glory? You know?
Well, the way I see it, the way I thought it would be so far is that you won't get, it won't be rewards per se, but there might be items or materials, crafting materials that you need that is only available in the realm. So you don't get those materials as a reward, but rather as it's like
as you have to do
else. Yeah, if you want to harvest a special magical metal, then you would have to go in the Veil. So that, because I don't think we should have rewards based on going there. I think it should be an objective to go there, a need, not a reward.
Originally, there was supposed to be a class. Each realm had a class, and we were supposed to be able to. It was almost true invisibility. You could. It was like astral shifting. You could shift into the Veil and then run around in it. But the longer you were in it, the more you would attract. It was almost like. If anybody's ever played the RPG Wraith, like the more you're there, the more all the baddies start realizing you're there and start showing up and going, "What are you doing in our realm?" And you pretty much had to eventually bail out.
Alive.
Yeah, right. Initially there was mention like there would be Veil Stalkers and Veil Walkers, and one would like fight the other. But either they changed it or we misinterpreted what they said back then, because in the BS
they changed it.
They realized that just like layering a realm on top of a realm was very a lot more work than they were expecting, I think.
Yeah, maybe also. So, but yeah, definitely should be not a reward, but there's some items that you would have to go there to be able to get. So
all this will be in the massive PvE game that Jacobs will do once his studio has gained enough fame and enough money to actually pull it off, because it'll take another 15 years to do. So,
well, don't worry. After Ragnarok, we'll have Camelot Unchained, and then once we're Camelot Unchained, actually Camelot Unchained is secretly the Ragnarok of the new game.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm of a firm believer that Mark Jacobs likes the lore. He likes the PvE stuff. I think he's doing this as a means to an end to get his next Camelot, Dark Age Camelot out there.
And yeah, I mean, that's all he did all his life, making games. I mean, he went from lawyer to game developer because he enjoyed it so much. So I still believe in the project. Is it going to take more time? Of course. I mean, it's already like 3 times the initial time it was supposed to take, but I think he aimed pretty high, but he won't give up. So it's going to take the time it's going to take, but I'm pretty sure the game will come out eventually. So
I'm thinking it'll come out around the time that we've all moved to VR games.
Well, I think we're at least 10 years away from a decent MMO in VR. I mean, I've played Skyrim on my VR headset, and it's still. I have a Samsung Odyssey Plus, so it has a good quality for the pictures and sound. But the wire is annoying as hell, so that drove me off a bit. So before we get a huge game, and I mean just that it's gonna have to be like a 5G everywhere for the internet connection. So I think it's gonna be a pretty long time until we get an MMO on VR.
So this is the most angered moment I can imagine. This is when we watch MJ's brain just go kaboom. He finally has Camelot Chained where he wants. He's like, and I'm finally going to release it. And he puts out a release date 6 months before it comes out. 2 weeks after that, Electronic Arts launches Dark Age of Camelot 2 VR. And you just watch his head go, pop!
I mean, to be fair to that comment, though, I think a lot of us that back it and still believe in Mark Jacobson, what he's doing, regardless of all the failure choices that one may or may not have made. I don't think that's going to bother him.
Nope.
Oh, he would. That would be the one thing that would trigger him, is if EA, using the fact that they stole his IP from him and then put out Dark Age of Camelot 2 VR just to spite him. Because, you know, the EA game doesn't even have to be good. It has to be broken as hell, because that's all EA puts out anyway anymore.
Exactly.
And it's like 4 years early release, you know, and yeah, but it will still, like, I think I can hear the wall being punched now in the studio.
But even from a psychological point of view, there's so many reasons why I know that MJ is going to do everything is in power to launch the game. So
Oh yeah. I don't feel at all at any moment that MJ's goals are like trying to milk us of money and and run off or anything like that.
I mean, first of all, I think you would have canceled the refund possibility if you wanted to just earn money.
Unless you just wanted to lure us in and make us feel safe.
I will say one thing.
I know that you know that you know that I know that I know that you know.
I will say one thing about MJ. Just watching the most recent thread on the forums where he asked everyone if they would be interested or in favor of a rant forum so that people could go on and do rants. Well, that devolved very, very quickly into, I think it's like 10 pages now of forum posts. And most of it is just people ranting. And he's engaging everyone that is being negative, to the point that some people have gotten so bad that presumably the way he's responded is these people are kicked. Just straight up, you're done. But he's still entertaining everyone. And he's still going it on.
Responding to everyone.
He's engaging the community to find out, okay, what is it that the community actually wants? And he's like, I have my opinions on this. I know what I want to do. But if the people that use this more often want to do it, okay. But I have a feeling they don't. And, you know, so.
And you know the fun thing is that I was the one who technically suggested the rent section.
Oh, it's your fault.
I mean,
10-page post is your fault.
Yeah, but I didn't suggest it. I was like, I mean, I think it could be a good idea to have a rant section, because either we have two options: either people like complain everywhere on the forum, or they go at one specific place to complain.
And allow everybody to kind of ignore them that doesn't want to be involved.
Okay, but somebody did post on there that that's what Reddit's for.
Well, I don't go to Reddit usually. So,
because it's a cesspool of crap.
Yeah, and
unless you're on Velik's Reddit things, because he actually keeps his pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, last week when you talk about it, or maybe Sunday, I think, on the other stream, that's when I just went back to Reddit, and hey, I had a subscription there, but I had to reformat my password because I didn't use it for like 6 years. So, but yeah. Yeah, that's one part that's pretty sad on the forum. Lately, it's like there's much more ranting than there's constructive discussions.
Well, that was the thing that originally kept me from those forums, is because they had it laid out like Reddit, and I was like, I hate Reddit, so I refused to read this.
I mean, I remember pre-Kickstarter when we were talking on MMORPG.com. I mean, the conversation there was pretty positive, and we were all pretty hyped. So, but those days are gone, unfortunately.
Like I did a whole entire show going, yeah, no, and I totally understand this, and I totally get it, but it's been 7 years. Like,
He did too. I remember that show.
Yeah.
So, BowBow, is Camelot Unchained kind of the be-all, end-all MMO for you? Is there any others that you're like really, really looking forward to that you think are going to be fantastic, or no?
Well, I'm looking for. I'm looking at other MMOs that could launch in the next 2 years while we wait on CU. So there was
3 years.
Crowfall. Yeah. Well, this is what we've been told so far, so I'm gonna stick to that. So, but Crowfall have quite a few things that are interesting, like the 3 to 6 months objectives. So at every month, 3 months or 6 months, another scenario starts. So that's very interesting. I like the concept of it. So that one was pretty interesting. There was what's the name of it? The other one that was on Kickstarter, I think. It's mostly a PvE game though.
Fantasy
Anyway.
Star Online?
New World,
not
Fantasy
much.
Star.
Not New World either. And I can remember the other one.
What genre?
But MMORPG also.
Right, but what, like, is it space, fantasy?
Fantasy.
Fantasy.
Man.
Ashes of Creation?
No, man, I can't remember.
Chronicles of Illyria?
Nope.
Wow, all right, I'm out of ideas.
I can't remember. Anyways, so but it's going to be too much PvE, I think. So it's not what I'm looking for. I enjoy PvE games, but I'm not looking for one because there's so many.
Yeah.
So so I think Crowfall has potential. New World that's coming out in a few months. I'm gonna check it out, but you too? You mean possibly in a few months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is their first major game.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And
But,
like we've
I
heard
mean,
nothing until
yeah,
boom, here's the announcement, and then nothing.
But they
It's
have
weird.
unlimited budget. They basically have unlimited budget. So
Yeah, but it's still weird. I mean, to not hear a single thing and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, and then nothing again.
Hey,
This is weird.
BowBow, real quick.
yep.
Readjust yourself back in the
Yeah.
middle. You're not like halfway in the frame. All right, there.
Yeah, I'm turning a lot on my chair.
You are good to go.
And my camera is holding on a stick, and the stick is just like leaning on the monitor, so it might move a bit.
It's on the stick.
Well,
But you keep
you're
moving.
You're starting to do this, right? And so it's like,
Like in Austin Powers when Dr. Evil keeps sliding over a little. Yeah, that's
Yep.
exactly what it is.
but yeah, there's I'm looking right now at Fantasy Star Online because a couple of people in my guild are like, we're gonna go check it out. I'm like, I actually read up on it, and it's at least sounded complex enough to be interesting.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, like I could like, if it's it's a PvE only game, but I'm like, okay, but if it's really complex and gives you a lot of depth and stuff like that of what you could do and how you could do it, that might be interesting. It'll keep my attention for at least 6 months until like something with PvP comes out.
Yeah.
Unlike the 20 minutes we did the other night in Ragnarok.
The game I was trying to remember earlier was Pantheon: Rise of the Fallen.
Oh, Pantheon.
Oh, okay. Pantheon, yeah.
So, but it's mostly PvE. So we have so many of those so far. So
Yeah, I know a lot of people were really excited about it, but the lead developer or whatever passed away recently. So
Oh, okay, I didn't
So
know that.
he was the one of the developers for EQ, wasn't it? Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
my opinion of Phantasy Star just went down a notch.
Why?
I'm not an EQ fan.
Oh no, we're talking about Pantheon.
Oh,
Fantasy Star is the Japanese game.
Yep. There was some Fantasy Star game on Genesis, the old gaming console, I think, right?
Yep. There's originally the first Fantasy Star Online came out in 105 ish, something like that.
Okay.
And then so this is Fantasy Star Online 2. Yeah.
so BowBow, given your love and passion for generating content and all that kind of stuff, and thank you for the following: Manflesh. Yep, I said that on stream. Okay. I'm gonna start making obscene Twitch names just to get the people that are streaming to actually say the name. But have you thought about getting into either writing your own game and actually getting it produced, or at least writing more and more D&D campaigns and stuff?
Nope. Not really. I mean, it would take too much of quiet time that I need that I don't have. So I prefer to do it for fun, for just because I love it, rather than just do it as a job. If my ideas lead to
I'm not
something else,
I'm not even
What's
saying
it?
as a job, just something you enjoy doing, writing it out, putting it out there, and letting people use it. I mean, they're experiencing your brain, essentially.
I'd also say that there's a really happy middle ground, especially for like, say you wanted to write content for D&D or Pathfinder or something like that.
Yeah.
Is they use a lot of freelance workers, so you're not really hired. You just kind of make it at your own pace, and then go, "Hey, I'd like to sell this to you," and then give you some cash for it, and then you're making money off of something you love.
Yep.
well, I'm starting to not. It's a small project also, but I'm starting my YouTube channel. There's no video on it yet, but I'm gonna mention ideas that I have right now for CU, and eventually, if it leads to something else, perfect. I mean, I would love it, but I'm not aiming for it at the moment. So
Fair enough.
So the
Understood.
can I say the name of my YouTube channel?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Please go ahead.
It's gonna be the Fourth Realm. So the Fourth Realm. Actually, half inspired from the CU, because there's 3 realms. So I'll be the 4th one with ideas talking about the three other realms and all. And there was also like a link with the 4 dimensions where like we go beyond what we know so far. So
that's cool.
it was the link between those two for the name.
So the Fourth Realm, check it out.
Yeah,
Content coming soon.
Yeah, there's only an intro video on it yet, so that's it.
I know all about that project right now.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Zaylin is currently working on a intro for me as we speak.
So yeah, there's one class that I thought of. So far, I think I've thought of 7 more classes that could be cool in CU. Obviously, all of them would be there after launch. Some only because like the lore would make it better if they came out after launch. Later on, maybe a year after, whatever. And basically, also, even regardless of this point, just to not. I mean, people would hate to have other classes presented to them right now before the other classes would be launched.
I mean why not?
I think
let's be
people
real.
would like changes.
People, especially if we microtrans them. I mean, we could sell classes like Star Citizen sell ships to people.
Yeah.
We can be like, hey, we got this new class. You should pay $85 to buy the new
Okay,
class.
League of Legends. Okay, so I think I found your YouTube channel, so I'm going to post it in chat.
Okay.
Everybody, if you're in chat, do BowBow a favor. Go there, subscribe. Right now, do it, or as soon as this is over, hit the link, go subscribe. You'll get in and get notified when BowBow gets around to doing the in-depth content that's already going on. So
I couldn't even give a small a brief view of one class that I thought about. It was the I called it the. I'm really bad at naming things. Okay, so I mean, don't worry about the name and try not to get hooked on the words I use.
It's called the Shooty class.
No, it's actually the it's actually the Elementalist.
Okay.
So, but it's not like in other MMOs where they used to cast fire, cast ice, water, earth, or whatever. Since in CU, all the spells will be physical entities. They won't be just like animations. So when you're going to cast a fireball, I mean, if you had a tennis racket, you could swing at a fireball to throw it back because it's going to be a physical entity. Right. So I thought it would be pretty awesome to have a class that doesn't cast any magic but only manipulates it. So someone casts a fireball, it could just like
that'd be neat.
Catch it. Yeah,
I pull the heat out of it, or I
or just like
redirect it, or
deflect it somewhere else, send it back to its caster.
Or turn a giant fireball into like a wave of napalm that just goes out and just covers everything.
So basically they don't cast anything, they just interact with magic that's already happening around them.
That would be very cool. I'd love that.
And it's also, it would be a class that would be so awesome to represent the possibility of CU, because it's going to be the first game that's going to be able to do that.
And this would completely screw over people that rely, or like guilds and raiding cultures that rely on damage meters, because you yourself aren't really doing damage per se. You're just manipulating somebody else's damage effect. So that in essence would, I don't know, I'd be curious to see how you do that. Yeah,
I think it has some pretty neat potential. I think you could, redirect spells, send it back to his caster.
Could you enhance or transfer buffs or debuffs from one thing to another?
You could also not only interact with enemies' magic, but your friendly magic also. So you could be a master of synergy also.
Oh, think about that. If you could manipulate enemy man, like if you had a fireball coming at you and you could manipulate that fireball to do something different.
Yep.
The amount of strange and weird logistics that would go into fights with that. Oh man.
I mean, it would be really awesome, I think. Just imagine also if you're fighting another realm that's uphill, and one of those casters sends you a boulder to roll down the hill, and as an elementalist, you just interact with the boulder and you stop it downhill. So it now makes a place to protect your tank, your fighter that are trying to run uphill to fight them. So, I mean, everything could be used in so many ways. I think it would be really awesome.
You need to go put that on the CU forums so that they can use it.
Well, right now, I thought about it for months.
Because right now we'll get yelled at for even bringing it up on this stream. So.
Yeah, but technically, it's not even in CU. So it's just like something I had in mind.
Put it on there. They need to put it in there.
Exactly.
Awesome.
You could also like transform someone into a lightning rod of the element of your choice. So you could make it so that the healer from the enemy realm attracts everything that is fire toward him, up to a certain person.
Right.
Of course. I mean, like, so...
You're going to attack the healer from range without actually attacking the healer.
Yeah.
So then the opposing faction has to make the choice: do I go after the person casting the spell, or do I go after the person manipulating that spell to screw over my healer?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And just imagine, I mean, there's this strong wizard that cast a huge fireball, and there's this little elementalist that's just hiding there behind the tree, and goes like whoop, and it sends it back right into the face of the caster.
Another really cool feature just it struck me. So like, because I view things very mechanically because of game development, and I was like, it'd be cool if incoming spells could be stolen and absorbed. So like, say a fireball's coming in, right? And as it's traveling, you just go boop and absorb it. Now what you do is you have to get rid of it. So like you radiate it as like an attack buff for your whole entire team.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden everybody in your team's swords burst into flames or something like that for X amount of seconds.
That could be
and just totally manipulate it, turn it into buffs for your party.
Yeah, that could be pretty awesome also, because since all the classes are non-mirrored classes, they need different options on how they interact with the spells. So that's
Sihaku points out, have a tank that's ultra resistant to fire, and then manipulate any fire spells coming at you to just automatically go to that tank.
Exactly.
That tank is tanking
into a lightning rod of that element that he's the best at.
So that tank becomes a tank without actually having to tank.
Exactly.
I think you need to use tank at least twice more in that sentence, otherwise it's not a proper
tank.
So, and the options that I had, well, the possibilities that I had to make it so that they're non-mirrored classes, I'm going to read it a little bit, so sorry if I try to get back in the middle of the screen.
How dare you move to the middle of the screen?
Okay, bye. Okay, so the more you interface with one type of magic during combat, the strongest will be the effect. So if there could be one realm that the elementalist, as long as he keeps interacting with the same element, is going to be stronger and stronger during the fight with that element. So that could be one possibility. It's basically like the pet class,
Kabbalist?
like the slaughter wolf.
Oh.
The shapeshifters, I mean. So there's one of them that they keep changing from one form to another without them doing anything. There's one class that have to keep changing often to remain powerful, and there's another class that has to remain the same to stay powerful. So there's sometimes just like slight difference. So I thought about doing stuff basically like this for the elementalist. So another possibility is that he constantly needs to change his interference to keep the power cost low. So that could be another thing. Instead of being more powerful, it costs less mana or magicka or whatever.
So like if you absorbed a fire spell, you after that really want to absorb an ice spell to almost like theoretically counter it out inside you. So.
Exactly. So there's so many possibilities that you can do to not have them as mirrored classes. So, and I never go too far in those design classes because I know that also CSE has more things in mind that we know about and their game mechanics and how they want stuff to work. So I don't go too far.
Right. You want them to be able to crunch the details down into the mechanics they have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I even made a small story of the birth of the class. So that's why this class should be there much later after launch, maybe a year, 6 months, or 18 months, 2 years, whatever. So it would be like people from all three realms. Eventually, they started to realize how the veil worked. So that veil was attracted to magic, was attracted to many people at the same place. So those people started to think of ways to not attract the veil as much as they used to by canceling magic, basically. So they're not casting it; they're just like using what's already there to do something else.
Yeah, you could even have like in my mind, somehow it seems appropriate for Ethereans, but like the Ethereans would have literally the anti-magic, they would be the anti-mage, and that would be their kind of, because everybody has their different name for it, right?
Yeah.
In the realm. So they'd be like the anti-mage, and they would be like, all they do is they cancel. They just, I can turn off the spell, or I can defeat the spell, or I can do this, or whatever like that. Then you can go to one where it's like, I'm redirecting it, and the other one's absorbing it and turning it into buffs. That actually really cool. I dig that idea. That's
I think it has a lot of potential.
Right, and it's each realm's take on that idea of defending itself against the veil by absorbing or redirecting or doing it whatever to the magic in the veil. That's actually really cool.
Yep.
See, I want to be able to cast a fireball in a certain direction, have somebody grab it, throw it at Malice, who can then pop his shield, and we're all on the same team. Throw it at Malice, who pops his shield with Spell Reflect. He reflects that thing off at whatever target he's doing.
Okay, so that spell would be called volleyball.
Yeah, something. But I mean, every time it hits a different class or something, it gains some kind of additional attribute. And so, like, if you're going to juggle a spell between, like, 6 people, I mean, that takes a lot of coordination. That spell should become, pretty freaking awesome, or have a number of debuffs with it. So if it hits a wall, that wall takes X more damage. Or if it hits a whole other player, or, it gets splash damage and can do this stuff. Just whatever.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to mind is a power game. Caster stands behind wall. Animage, or the one that can redirect, steps out from the wall. The caster casts this way and then fires that way, so that you can armor up the anti-mage basically and be like, whoop. So the mage can hide behind a wall and be like, I'm safe, screw you.
I would love to be in a keep and just have this fireball ping-ponging back and forth. And I'm, you got people outside the keep and they're attacking, and they just see this fireball going back and forth, and all of a sudden it just goes up and then splats on them, and it's like, what the hell just happened? You never know when it's going to happen. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and even though they're those class would do it to try to not attract the veil as much, it could have the opposite effect also, because if a spell remains active for too long, it could even be worse, possibly.
Pitter out, or was it somebody was saying on here, or 3 times the damage, Brutex. Saying if you hold on to it too long, it does 3 times the damage on you and the people around you.
Or if you have
I got it, pop.
or if you have a critical fail, you could explode with that spell that you get done to yourself.
Or Malice is a dork and doesn't get his spell reflect off, or doesn't catch it or something, and it hits him, and just you've just one-shotted your own tank.
Yeah, because
friendly fire.
I listened to Bring Out Your Devs video that dated back from the BSC days. I listened to it this weekend.
Bring out your devs.
Yeah, and it's funny because they really mentioned how they're going to be able to track the spell from its the moment it's cast to its definitive damage, even if it change people or size or elements 7-8 times during the
man, the coding for that would be insane.
Yeah, but that's what they're aiming at.
I could see a battle going on, and these mages almost in their own little battle, throwing back and forth, bouncing stuff around, and then you just hear someone yell, "Love 14" or whatever. Like they're playing a tennis match. Yeah, we spiked it. We got one in there.
Wow.
So anyway, if you like this idea, you can also check. I posted my idea for a tank on the forum maybe 18 months ago. I don't have the link on it, but it's in the. Maybe check my name and check what I posted. I didn't post that much on the new forum, so could be pretty easy to find. Not tonight, but eventually when you want to.
Oh, I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
While you guys talk.
Okay. So yeah, I think it could be a pretty cool class, and it could be unique to Countdown on Chain, as long as other studios don't copy them.
Well, that's actually the interesting part about Camelot Unchained in general, is a lot of their classes pretty unique. I mean, things like the Slaughter Wolf and whatnot, that's a really just different class. That's why I'm thinking of playing one, just because it seems so unique.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, this class would totally represent the possibilities of CU also.
Right.
Because doing something else with the magic that someone else cast, directly affecting it, willingly.
Yeah. That'd be really interesting. Another thing I would try to think of is how would you target a spell? I mean, it takes some detail.
I thought about it, and it wouldn't be possible, let's say, in ESO, because the combat's way too fast, going way too much close range to be able to do it. But CU is going to be like a slower pace game. So you're going to have, you can see like a fireball coming for seconds, maybe before it reaches you. So it's going to be possible. Also, there's some spells that you're going to be able to change. Let's say someone made a stone wall appear. The wall is there; it won't move, so you can do something else with it.
Right.
So yeah, of course, there's some spell like in pretty close range. I wouldn't suggest trying to intercept a fireball.
Right.
So it's up to you also to try to do smart stuff.
How good's your skills, yo?
So, but there could also be possibilities that you have some, I wouldn't say basically like a buff, but you could have like one buff active that when you receive a certain type of magic, you can pre-program it in advance so it does something else with it. So it could be like one resistance buff, basically, or one change buff. A new sort of buff.
Now you got my brain going, right? So
just I know.
I know with interesting class.
Something's got to get it going.
It's all this alcohol. It keeps it happy. But the speaking of that, reach for another beer. That's very important. So I was actually thinking, like, what would this be a neat idea for a class? You know how you're talking about having the classes come out after release, obviously, right?
Yep.
With expansions or whatever like that. But think if this is a class, you kind of how ESO has that like idea of becoming a vampire or a werewolf or something like that. Have it unlock a class slot for you, or add it to your class even when you complete the depths. If you kill the last boss in the depths, you become basically demon tainted. Okay. And then, like,
Skippy, he just said tainted. I hope you're listening.
Yeah. Well, I know Skippy really likes his own taint. That's why he fondles it all the time.
That's his favorite word in the world. It's his favorite word in the world.
I can believe that. And then you can either have, like, a classes based on it, so it'll open up a new character class or something for you, and then you could level that up if you wanted. Or like the vampire or werewolf from ESO, where it could actually affect your current character. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought of something similar to it, but you know that when you're going to die in the depths, you're going to be able to incarnate an NPC or a monster.
Oh, really? That should be interesting.
Yeah, so I thought that if you do a pretty damn good job when you're controlling that NPC or that monster, why wouldn't it stay a bit inside you for a while after you resuscitate and go back into your main character? So you could have, like, for a short while, special abilities or maybe a look or something.
You're gonna reincarnate as Legion and just kill Malice all the time.
It would be something purple and hurt more.
It's not something you can aim at or can decide to have, but it just affects you nonetheless. So I think that would be awesome, because it's pretty awesome when there's things that are totally out of your control.
Right.
So, and I think this is some things that Mark wants to do. Remember his foundational principle, like the chaos. I mean, this is the sort of stuff that could be pretty awesome to have.
Yeah, that'd be really awesome.
Once again, we do not represent CSE, nor is anything here actually part of anything in the game. This is all conjecture and our own opinions.
Exactly.
Oh, also, CSE.
Feel free to use anything you want.
I believe we all here give approval that you can just use this stuff. We're not going to come sue you because you actually used our idea.
And Mark, if you're interested in that idea, just tell me. I'm going to write it on the front, so it's going to be yours right after. That's it. I mean, I don't care. I just, I've been talking about your game, Mark, for like 6-7 years now. I'm always hooked on it.
Haven't we all?
I want to see it succeed. So my ideas are your ideas if you want them. No strings, contracts attached, nothing.
Feature you're most excited about for CU?
Scouts.
No. Feature.
A feature.
Not character.
Kind of a feature. Well, that's kind of a feature.
Malice, you're not a feature. Go away.
No,
Okay.
the scout functionality, I can understand.
Scouting features.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, this is going to be pretty unique also, so I'm pretty anxious to see it. And the soul shards.
Because no game has actually ever created that I could think of, made a specific scout class that is specifically a recon class for the realms, especially in a fantasy game.
It's actually something I linked toward to on MMORPG.com like 6-7 years ago when we talked. So I inquired on many people as to what they would like to see for a scout, a stealth class, but not only for ganking purpose. So, and the scouting options was something that came out pretty strong. So,
yeah, I mean, I know lots of people that when they played Guild Wars 2, they really got off of the fact that they would just hang out in keeps all day and just like, yep, bad people coming. Y'all support to the zone and defend it.
yeah. And like I told Swipper a few weeks ago, I mean, I have just as much fun to think about things that I could see in CU than playing other games. So there's nights that I don't feel like playing. I just prefer like to write and think, or when I'm like out of ideas or I'm stuck, I just like sometimes I save like 6 hours of YouTube videos that talks about Camelot Unchained, and I listen to it while I sleep. I fall asleep on it, and it works in my head. Next morning. Yeah, I mean, I did some studies when I went back to school. That's how I studied sometimes. I recorded myself once and would play. Yep. So
Brutex says that you're his hero now.
Who?
Brutex.
Oh, thank you. I don't know who he is, but thanks.
Brutex is Jocks. He's member of crowd control.
Yep.
As well as plague. So.
Okay.
All right, BowBow. Most disappointing feature that we know of currently.
Okay, not. I won't say disappointing, but worried is the ever-changing map. With me and Malice and I talked about it a few weeks ago, and we had like the same worries about it. So I'm not sure if they're going to be able to pull it off the way they wanted to, because basically they want the islands to move left and right, but on coding, and I'm not a coder. I know a little bit about coding, and that's something that we're not sure if it can be done. So that's why I wanted to propose that instead of having the islands move left and right on the ocean, they could either disappear to the bottom of the ocean or float in the air. So having them on the same X and Z points is probably could be easier for them to program than having the stuff basically like moving on a boat, because most of the time when you're on a boat, your character cannot move if the boat is moving, because then there's this
chances of falling off and lagging and all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah. So if the island just disappears on the ocean, so the stabilizers, instead of merging two islands together, they would make one rise up from the ocean or down from the earth, down from the sky. Because I remember that MJ once said he would like to have something in the skies in the game. So I thought it would be like, even as a land viewing, if you see like islands in the air floating, it could be like pretty awesome also as a just something to see. And I can imagine, because also the islands, if they raise from underneath the water, I mean, it could basically happen while you're playing instead of being only at the server shutdowns every night. So if it rises from the water, it could be happening while you're playing, and you could see it rise from the water. And it could also be an excellent opportunity to integrate rare resources or rare crafting materials, since they come from underneath the water.
Yeah, but if you build on that island, Trev, if you're listening, I want you to build an underwater
keep. That's the kind of island that you wouldn't be able to build on.
Oh, I'm sure Trev could pull it off.
But I mean,
or Scott.
If it sunk again, it would basically destroy everything that's on it. I think
unless they made it waterproof.
Yeah, or I mean, the stuff could be like moved away on the island somewhere.
Hey, Bobo, come back into frame, friend.
Sorry.
Okay.
He's wandering. I mean, and I know it's going to sound negative Nancy about the situation, but I assume that it's going to kind of eventually resolve to like the Guild Wars 2 idea of like, we're going to recalculate points at the end of the week, and based on how those points have worked out, this is the new ownership of the land, okay, or something like that.
But and there's also another problem, that if they want to change the ownership or the position of the islands only once a day, I mean, if let's say at 7 a.m. there's an island that's captured by the Arthurians, basically you can do anything with that island until the next day, because it's theirs, but it's not at the place that it's supposed to be. So how could you travel to an island that's not supposed to be there anymore?
That would help in preventing that, like what we have in Guild Wars 2, where it's literally just point trading, where it's like, okay, I'm going to go after this one. Cool, you're over there? Great, I'm going to go after this one. That this would kind of eliminate that a little bit. It would just make that click over in the morning a lot like Arcage, have the reset raids, where it's like, okay, reset, all right, and go.
It also breaks the momentum. I mean, if you just like captured an island and you're on a good streak, you would like to keep on going, but the island won't move until the next day.
Right.
So then again, it's not the best mechanic, I think. So either it changes while the game is on, or you do it differently so it can change while the game is on.
It should move when there's a veil storm.
It could be, but then again, the veil storm should not be there to camouflage the...
No, the energy of the veil storm is what actually moves the island.
No.
He's like, nope, not at all. All right, dumbest feature ever that they have in there right now. The dumbest thing you can think of that they're doing.
Linuxification.
That does not count. Damn it, I gotta pour more whiskey now.
It's not the actual act of Linuxification, it's just the word Linuxification.
Wow.
Here we go. Linuxification, there we are.
Yeah, I'm not a tech guy at all, so I wouldn't say Linuxification.
No, dumbest feature in the game that we're going to have to put up with as players.
Well, the veil can be pretty touchy if it's wrongly implemented, if it's not implemented right. I mean, it's supposed to be the excuses for the stealth and many dynamics, but
so you think the veil is kind of going to be used as a cop-out for a lot of mistakes and stuff they just can't pull off?
No, but it should not. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. It's not. I'm afraid it could turn out that way, that it could. So, or if it's wrongly implemented, it could create a lot of nonsense in the game. That's something I'm not quite at ease to explain because of the.
Right. And Skippy, you're fired. Gilded integration? Yeah, that's pretty dumb.
The issue I had from the original concept, the original writing of the Veil, to where it is now, is it's like you said, with the way that they're talking about implementation and all the other stuff like that, how it's kind of evolved in that direction is like, well, we don't know. Like it feels like it's going to be such a Veil light of what the original idea was, that it's going to kind of come off as just it's no longer a mechanic that's needed. It's just going to be a mechanic that was thrown in to fulfill an original design doc. And I that's my biggest fear with the Veil, is that it went from this in-depth, complicated, interesting idea that was going to have very impactful things to, well, we said we'd have the Veil, so we're going to have these storms occasionally show up, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's something that have to keep kids, like, keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
It has to remain simple. If it's a new concept, it's a new thing. It hasn't been done in many games, I think, but it shouldn't be like so complex that it doesn't make sense anymore. I mean, the way I pictured the Veil is like, if you're crossing the Veil, you're on the other side, you see the same landscape, but there's things that you don't see. You don't see anything that's built with resources from the human side of the land. You could only see like resources that was used, but that was harvested from the Veil, that's been brought back on the human side and used to build something. So there's a few things. I would like keep it very simple. Even like the stealthers.
Spirit bricks. So you would like have a castle that could be in both places at once.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're crossing the Veil, you're exactly at the same place, but you're just in another dimension. So you would see only the resources taken from the Veil to build the castle. So you could see like only parts of the castle, parts of a wall.
I was going to say, if my castle or house existed in both the real-time world, whatever, and the Veil, I would want my Veil castle or house to be very, very different, but still kind of be the same, if that makes sense. You transitioning over and it's just like, oh, holy crap, there's so much more or so much less to this structure than I ever even imagined, and it's usable.
Almost like ruins of whatever you had.
Yeah, you could imagine like you have a simple house, but if you see it from the Veil side, then it would look like, I don't know, a dark tower, because you're only seeing like parts of it. Right. So that would be a nice challenge for Treville. But yeah, I mean, I think the Veil has good possibilities, but it has to remain simple yet very effective.
BowBow, I am totally looking forward to your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
I think a lot of the thought processes and everything else that you're generating and even talking about are incredibly fascinating, and I can't wait to see where you take them when you get around to rambling and just really exploring the creativity that you've been gifted with. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I mean, I'm very happy to have shared it, because part of the reason why I didn't share so far, sometimes just like the lack of confidence in what I think. I mean, I don't do it so it gets approved by everyone, but you want to have some impact. You just don't want to throw up stupid ideas that won't go anywhere.
You need a limited sounding board so that you can go, did I sound like a complete moron? No? Okay, then I can tell everybody else.
Exactly. So you guys were my guinea pig tonight.
There you go. Well, I think we're going to kind of wrap things up here tonight. I want to thank everyone for coming out and watching the hour and a half of us chit-chatting here with BowBow. And if you'd like to become part of the Smart Gamer community, just follow the link for our Discord. Zaylen.
Down below.
Yeah.
Or I could do this. Wait, I got this.
Check out
I
our
got this.
Patreon. Or and Zaylen, what is the new time for the dates and the times for the community hall?
So Town Hall is changing to once a month. The next one will be on the second Sunday of the month. It's always going to be on the second Sunday of the month. MMO Grind will still happen every Tuesday. And keep an eye on our YouTube channel for a special video line from Malice. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm in the veil now.
just keep an eye on our YouTube. Let me see if I have this in here.
BowBow, thank you very much for coming on out. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Always welcome to the show. And I want to thank everybody for watching the MMO Grind. You all have a great night.
You too. Thank you, everyone.